Welcome to Esoterica, the podcast, where we discuss the obscure, offbeat, and unusual. I'm Chris Schultz.
And I'm Aaron Christian.
Today's episode is brought to us by Oceanic Airlines. Oceanic announcing its return to the airways. Flights begin December 31st to 9 markets: Los Angeles, Tustin, California, Ames, Iowa, Miami, Florida, New York City, Portland, Oregon, Knoxville, Tennessee, Seoul, South Korea, and Sydney, Australia. Oceanic Airlines, taking you places you never imagined. So, welcome to Season 3.
Yeah, Season 3 has begun. 2021 has begun. We put that hellish year of 2020 behind us, but our first year as a podcast behind us.
I did a comment on New Year's Eve as I was thinking about it. I'm bracing myself for a year that's literally named 2021.
Nice.
Right?
2021.
It's a visual joke.
It is. You posted that on Facebook the other day, I believe.
I did. So what do we have on deck for our very first episode of 2021?
Well, our first episode of 2021 involves us listening to another album by Modern Baseball.
Nice.
And if you remember the last time we listened to Modern Baseball, it was back in like February or March of 2020. And we peeled back the layers of the onion known as me.
Yes.
And so we're not quite doing the same thing here with this album, but I think in a similar vein, a lot of the messages that I really clung on to with the previous album are still prevalent here. And I think that it's a good way to start off 2021 by, taking a little bit of a dive into yourself. Yeah. So You're Gonna Miss It All is the name of the album by Modern Baseball. It was written by all the band members while they were in college, and it came out in 2014. And that's all the cool facts about it that I will share, and I will sprinkle in little tidbits of information as we go on this listening journey together.
Cool.
It's a relatively short album. It's only about 29 minutes, which I like.
So would we consider that an album, or is that an EP?
Well, an EP is anything that is less than 7 songs or less than like a half hour.
For reals?
Yeah. So this is more than 7 songs for reals.
I was years old when I learned that there's actual criteria for an EP.
So I only know that because when I put out my record, I wanted it to be an album, but it was only 20 minutes long, and I didn't feel like writing more songs. Mm-hmm. So I added an extra song on there so that it would fit the 7-song criteria to calculate as an album on all streaming services.
Interesting.
So this album is 12.
You learn something new every day.
I was today years old.
I actually hate that expression. But
I hate when you say that expression. All right, so we're going to listen to the first track, if Chris is not too busy on his phone. We're going to listen to the first track called Fine, Great.
For me. Just bored, I can't really tell the difference whenever I'm talking to you, and I know that you just adore starting off with me that way, that there's no way that I'll assume that.
So this song in this whole album, and like a lot of other artists right now, for some random reason that I've been picking back up after a while, remind me of Providence, Rhode Island. I don't know why music always reminds me of places, and it kind of pisses me off. I have to think that it probably has something to do with when I played in the band that we would play down in Attleboro a lot, and that's close to Providence. So I'd be driving down 24, heading to go to a show, and I'd be listening to this music. So it reminds me of that 24 corridor of places. So when I listen to these songs, I'm instantly transported down that highway, and it's the weirdest thing in the whole world. What that has to do with the song? Absolutely nothing.
I get that though.
Yeah.
There's I'm going to say Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti and Zeppelin 2 in particular have really strong memories for me of my Impala, driving around Quincy. That was just, you make associations.
Yeah.
So a song about a girl.
Yeah, most of these are. And it's interesting because, isn't that every song ever? But what I like about what Modern Baseball does is this is kind of I like somebody, but I suck too much. And I feel like more people relate to that than the mainstream love song.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
And this is emo, right?
I would say so.
Yeah, it's again, it's an interesting thing. I think where traditionally you have songs about girls are usually all about the girl,
Yeah.
or your damaged obsessive feelings about that girl. But
Right.
this is more like navel gazing at the situation than anything, which is interesting. I like the change of perspective.
Yeah, and I think we listened to this type of feeling when we listened to them last time. We analyzed the same thing. And so this feel that modern baseball goes for is so unique in the way that they explore that love thing. So we're going to move on to the next song. It's called Broken Cash Machine. It's only 1:50. I think it's the shortest song on the album. So let's take it down.
Home alone on Friday night, no better time for exercise, and wishing you were still my girlfriend. Sweeping floors and folding napkins, praying something cool might happen. The sun explodes, we die, the world ends. Talking to my friends about stuff, nasty beer and plastic handcuffs. Back when them and you and me could share our space in harmony. Oh, why did I do that?
So I wasn't going to comment on annotations on Genius, but like whoever was doing the annotations on these songs like went to town. There's paragraphs.
Yeah, that's the thing is like modern baseball is not like esoteric to the point where like nobody knows about them, but they like do things differently, and I think the off the beaten path thing is why I always say, hey, modern baseball is a good thing for the show. So there are a lot of times really good annotations because there's a lot to analyze here. There's a lot to analyze.
There is. I really like on the chorus how it goes from why does everything collapse to I make everything collapse. Like, that's an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, it is. The end of the song there is it's your fault I can't relax. So there's another change there. But nothing's changing while I'm sitting here with both hands glued together. So we've already talked about how everything else is glued together. Now your hands are glued together. Yeah. The annotation here is pretty interesting. It's he finds it impossible to calm down because of a girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like, again, this like instead of just being obsessed about somebody, like it's obsessive to the point where it's destructive. Mm-hmm. And I think that's different from the mainstream view of how that would be perceived.
Yeah, there's a reference to the first verse where he's talking about sweeping the floors and folding napkins, waiting for something cool to happen. The sun explodes, we die, the world ends. Have you ever seen the movie Seeking a Friend at the End of the World?
I have not.
It's cute. It's Stephen Carell doing a serious role. It's a drama.
You just call Steve Carell Stephen Carell?
Stephen Carell.
Yes, that's awesome.
We're on odd terms, so we're very formal with each other. Yeah. He calls me Christopher.
He owns a store in the same town you work.
Yes, he does. So it's the end of the world. Everybody knows the world's ending. He ends up falling in love with somebody, but what's kind of cool about it, at the end of the movie, the world ends. Yeah. Like, there's not a happy ending. The sun explodes. So I don't know if they're specifically referencing that movie, but in the annotations, whoever did it mentioned that, and it is a movie worth checking out if you want to see Steve take a more serious.
Interesting
role.
So our next track, so there are a few popular ones on here. Fine Great, which is the first track I listened to, was Rock Bottom is another one.
Please tell me this is about Rock Bottom on SpongeBob.
No. No, I think that would be an amazing song, though, and let's plan to write that.
Aaron, you're tasked with your next album.
Bottom.
Yes, you have to sing what the is every now and then.
I love you, girl. So let's take a listen to Rock Bottom.
Then you ask if I gotta leave, and I wish that I could say no.
Nothing better than just blowing off a day and then staying in bed with the girl you love. That's cool.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Did you watch Planet Earth and brainstorm tattoos?
Well, no. But did similar ways of wasting time.
There you go. Yeah, this is a again that approach, of like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just the approach is different, and that's what I love about this album. And every song, it's the same. It's the destructiveness of how you feel,
Yeah. And if you don't do that every day, it's okay to do that once in a while. Sometimes you gotta throw out your responsibilities and just take some time to say whatever forever.
Your parents ever tell you to cry it out?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, cry it out, because the what is the chemicals that come out in tears that actually make you calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Get it out, do it, like deal with that, because it's good to do that for your mental health sometimes.
Yeah.
Blow off some steam.
I've always been an advocate of mental health days. Like sometimes you just need to.
My head is on the verge of exploding. No amount of aspirin or pizza can help this from hurting.
Yeah, like yesterday was a holiday. I could have done stuff, but I woke up late and I watched season 3 of Cobra Kai.
If I had known that you were doing nothing all day, we would have done something. Because I did nothing all day also.
But we're doing something today.
We are. We're catching up. I thought you were working, so I didn't even bother to ask you.
Season 3 of Cobra Kai rocked, by the way.
You know what else rocks? Season 3 of Esoterica.
Yes, it does. Rocks hard.
All right, our next song is called Apartment.
The first time I saw you was in your apartment. I had followed my friend single file through the darkness. I looked your direction for excessive inspection, and I could not muster the courage to say a single word.
A song about apartment.
Yeah.
You ever do that? Like I know I do this frequently, where you'll sit and like map out conversations you're going to have in your head.
Yes.
And of course they never come to fruition.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah. All right, I'm not alone in that.
No, I will sit there and figure out like potential scenarios of how I would treat a conversation, and then because I do that, it doesn't happen.
And I'm assuming that you also have this where if it did happen the way you imagine, you'd be the most eloquent mofo that ever walked the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. This is why we do a podcast together.
Yeah. From a musical perspective, because I haven't done this yet in this episode. I lost my train of thought. No, that little break in the middle there, boom, 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 it like really broke up the song well. Like it added that interlude, made me feel good.
I find it interesting. It seems so far with these songs, although some of them do have what passes for a chorus, it's mostly just like a run through whatever they're thinking.
Yeah.
Rather than the traditional verse, chorus, verse.
Yeah, I mean, I had a song where I did a similar thing, except I turned it into a verse, chorus, verse. But like I was feeling a certain way about something, and I wrote notes on my phone about how I was feeling at that point in time, and then I ended up turning it into a song because I didn't have any lyrics already written for something. And I feel like because they're in college, I mean, they're just like me in that sense when they wrote this. Now 7 years ago. Oh my God.
Wow.
It was 7 years ago. They just, probably went through what they were feeling and just said it. So yeah, they don't. There's things that are written out that way, but no, they just. And what I like is like they do like more sophisticated rhymes of stuff. They sit there and like they try to find a more eloquent way of saying what they want to say. Praying to God knows what that you would sever what's stuck with something shiny from the kitchen drawer. I mean, like there's obviously easier ways of saying it, but it's more eloquent.
Yeah, it's poetry. And it also reminds me, it's funny, this takes me back to when Carrie and I first started dating, my wife, for those who don't know. So she lived in Somerville, and she had a roommate, and I would go usually on Friday and Saturdays and hang out, and we'd order pizza, we'd smoke some pot, we'd watch usually Iron Chef and SpongeBob. And the thing is, I had just come off a really messed up divorce. And I met Carrie, and all she was looking for was someone to hang out with, and I was just looking for a friend. and I immediately realized that I was in love with this girl. So for the longest time, it was the same situation where I'm sitting there and I was like completely tongue-tied, not wanting to say what I'm thinking, and would just sit there and be like, why am I just like sitting here not talking and stuff? It's funny. So
That's sweet.
yeah.
I lost my train. There we go. I gotta cut those out of this episode. Our next song is called "The Old Gospel Choir."
Some Americana.
I hope not. We haven't listened to the Homeless Gospel Choir yet.
Oh yeah, did we talk about that on air?
We talked about that on air at one point.
Yeah,
And then we were gonna listen to it, and then I think it got bumped for something else. So, you know, maybe just for the shits and giggles, we'll pop a song at the end.
There we go.
It's only a 30-minute album. All right, the Old Gospel Choir.
Me.
Interesting.
So what I love about this song is when the end, it actually changes time signature from 4/4 to 6/8, which is really cool. And you probably heard that, like the when we act like it just the whole vibe changes, and I always love that about this song. And I also find it ironic that it's called the Old Gospel Choir, but starts off like a marching band with the snare roll.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing anything in the lyrics that would make me think of an old gospel choir.
Right. I mean, I guess maybe the illusion, like, I had no bucks to get here lies, they ran out of luck on the back of a tombstone is basically, so that's like, you know, death, funeral, choirs, singing churches. I don't know. Like, a really convoluted way to get there.
But I'm picking up your train. It sort of reminds me of there's a Tom Waits song where he sings about getting a tattoo, and the tattoo artist says, "Whose name do you want?" And he said, "The one who got away."
I'd love to see it just say that, the one that got away.
I keep telling my mom I want to get a tattoo of a heart that says "son." I'm like, I'll pay for it. Just go get it.
But not spelt correctly. S-U-N.
Ooh. Or S-O-H-N.
My gosh. All right. This is why you listen to this show.
Yeah. But it does seem like, all right, so this is apparently a breakup song. Like, looking at the lyrics, and he's kind of like admitting that he was a dick.
Yeah, and it's like the kind of like the makeup, you know, can we act like we never broke each other's hearts? At least mine. I don't know how you felt from the start.
Yeah. But it seems like she told him to fuck off.
Yeah. I kind of get that, you know, I've learned recently that it's probably better to not fight.
Yeah.
Because it's like this takes the stress level away, especially when it was just stupid.
Yeah. Sometimes you kind of need things to come to a head and blow some steam to clear the air, so to speak. But
Yeah.
it's probably better to avoid that.
Well, I don't mean fighting in sense of like confrontation in a relationship, but I mean like after a breakup and just keeping things so, you know, tense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because then it's just easier to forget about it if it's just like, whatever, you know.
You broke up. You don't have to care about each other
exactly.
anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. And the people that keep perpetuating the fact that it's there, like, make things so much more stressful. There's no need for that.
Yeah, when my first girlfriend and I broke up, we were in a circle of friends, and we tried to hold that group together for a while afterwards, and it did not do me well. I don't know about anybody else, but
yeah,
I did not weather that well. So,
well, I definitely feel, can we act like we never broke each other's hearts? Because better if you don't.
Right? I agree with that sentiment.
So our next song is called Notes.
Dear long dark hair, I write 'cause I know you'll forget. You could be sea green in a wastebasket tomorrow. No repulsion toward my premature indulgences. If you can't recall a word I said.
Okay, before we go any further, I I want to take a minute to talk about the awesome folks at Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way. In fact, it's the way that we make a podcast. Let me explain.
It's free.
There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
And you can make money from your podcast. Best part, no minimum listenership.
Ooh. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
It's so cool. We found the service. We started using it. We're making podcasts.
Yeah, making podcasts, making money, having a good time.
So listen, you want to get you out there. You want to be heard. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Thank you.
So I perked up there. There was some guitar at one point that sounded like it wanted to be a steel pedal guitar, like that feel. And I was like, whoa,
Ooh,
where
hey.
did that come from? Nice.
Oh, there is steel guitar in it by William Lindsay.
Oh, okay.
Lap steel guitar. That entire second verse was just like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was my trophy shelf of slip-ups, my untamed hormonal Loch Ness shit show on late-night rotation for months on end. There's just so much going on there.
Yeah. So if I'm interpreting correctly, and I could be wrong, he's singing about a girl that he met and hasn't necessarily started a relationship with yet. And then that verse goes back to whatever his last relationship was.
Yeah.
And now he wants to start fresh. Also sort of reminds me, not in sound at all, but Nick Cave on his album The Boatman's Call, which went from being like heroin addict Nick Cave, dark gothy guy, to this very like painful self-confessional album. Right. He also sings about his relationship with PJ Harvey, and there's a song called I think it's called Black Hair or Dark Hair, and it's just all about her black hair. So it sort of brought me back to that.
Dear long dark hair. Yeah. Wow. You could be Sea Green and Wastebasket tomorrow. This next song's title is my favorite. It's Charlie Black.
Charlie Black.
As in Charlie Brown, but Charlie Black.
But Charlie Blacker.
Yeah. So let's listen to Charlie Black.
Wait a minute, cause I've been living more like a fucking king without you. And I've been spending all your past feelings on a bunch of shit that I won't use. Whoa, tragedy's got my heart a beating. Whoa, rethinking all my days. Whoa, tragedy's got my heart a screaming. Take them away, just take them away.
So we talked to these guys, right, on a live stream?
We didn't.
No?
No. I've tried to get in touch with them, but to no avail.
Oh, Bicycle In and
Fat
Boys and
Little
Little Men. Okay. All right. So my train of thought just went in a different place.
So this song actually follows that verse-chorus structure a lot more than the other ones do.
Yeah.
Because it's got that catchy chorus. It is very imperative that everyone keeps in mind as we listen through this album. The line, wait a minute, because I've been living more like a fucking king without you. So I'm just going to read the annotation for that because it's really short. So he's saying, in contrast to his life during the relationship, he's finally able to feel good about himself. He resolves that perhaps the tragedy wasn't such a bad thing to happen after all. And yeah, don't read that annotation. Don't click on that because then it ruins the surprise. But you need to keep that in mind for the next track.
So I won't read it.
So don't read it.
Don't read it.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good.
All right. So we'll listen to the next track called Timmy Bowers.
Wait a minute, cause I've been living more like a piece of shit without you. And I've been spending all your past killings trying to drink my way out of this truth. Wait a minute, cause I've been living more like a piece of...
So I know we mentioned on an earlier episode, not too long ago, the metaphor that I've used a lot of times about depression being a zombie.
Yeah.
The unquiet emotions that just keep resurfacing.
Right.
Where this song is like the antithesis of the last one.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that, where you might be feeling positive about something that's happened, and then that depression hits you like a punch.
Right. Well, and specifically, like I said, to keep in mind is that feeling like a king without you. I've been feeling more like a piece of shit without you. Is the antithesis part of this.
And where this song is like nothing but a mantra of that line repeating over and over. So it's,
props to whoever mixed this song, because you listen to the acoustic guitar, like there's a really, really good spread between the right and the left on this, and they just do a really good job bringing those sounds together here. So like, props to Minor Street Recordings and Studio 4 recording.
Yeah, it's funny. That kind of caught me too with the acoustic. I remember many, many moons ago when I was trying to learn guitar, being taught that you want to avoid the sound of like your fingers on the strings and stuff. And there's a lot of that in that song, but that's actually one of the like better things about music, I think, is that.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I always learned when I was learning how to play guitar, is that you need to learn the rules in order to break them.
Exactly. Yeah. You just sound like shit if you don't know the rules, but if you intentionally are breaking them, then yeah.
I think a lot about like Nirvana or Rage Against the Machine, where they just like find ways to intentionally make their instruments sound bad, but it works.
Yeah. Yeah, similar. I took piano lessons for a while, and the guy who was my piano teacher was, he was he was an organist at church. He was like crazy, very talented, and like I wanted to learn some Phil Collins stuff, and he's like, you need to understand, any of this contemporary music, they break all the rules. It's like, this is not art, dude. But different type of art. So.
Yeah, it's
probably why I didn't learn to play the piano.
So our next song is called "Going to Bed."
Just one more distorted, sad attempted humor from the jagged bleeding tumor in our throat. Malignancy best and quick to address yourself as anything other than what we've learned to expect. Patron saint of good goddamn, I'll kick myself to sleep before I shake that grimy, dirty, crusted, arrogant hand. So please leave my house.
He does not like this dude.
No. That bridge, like, whoa. As a college student, I'll admit I'm in the same boat, caught between my adolescent safety net and where the world wants me to go, but I'd never use that as an excuse to treat my friends the way that you treat me. And then from there on out, it's got this like insane little like solo, and then the music like really accents the lyrics a lot in the second chorus. So like from the bridge on, it was probably my favorite part of the song.
I was thinking while I was listening to this that it'd be fun to listen to an album that was all about like people you hate.
Oh my gosh.
Just like calling them out, not by name, but just like going through the different personality types of people that just piss you the hell off.
That'd be good. The patron saint of good goddamn.
Yeah, it was funny because I again try to avoid the annotations as much as possible now. But on the second verse, when do you call someone who calls you out for not being some way while they're doing the same thing, an asshole with an iPhone? Like someone actually tried to explain that, and it's completely self-evident in the verse.
Yeah,
it doesn't need any explanation. He's telling you, what do you call someone like that? You call him an asshole with an iPhone.
And like taking this out of the context of the entire song, but just one more distorted, sad attempt at humor is me trying to make jokes. It's so sad.
And I think we all know this guy. There are some iteration of this guy
for sure. So our next song is arguably, well, and according to Spotify and Genius and most things, the most popular song on this album, and probably the most popular song that Modern Baseball has ever made. It's called Your Graduation. And it is a bop. And it actually is one of the only times it features the drummer singing instead of the two guitar players. So let's spin your graduation.
To call you crook, called you abandoned. There ain't no other good damn reason why my heart it would go missing for so many months. So I was wishing that you would stop pretending. Remember all those countless nights when I told you I loved you, and you never forget it. Oh, just forget it.
You were the only one who thought of us that way. I spend most nights awake, wide awake.
So, I've had this thought recently, and I think that, a lot of people I know that went to college often say they had this college experience, and they still have friends from when they went to school with, and they're some of their best friends that they met in college. I'm never going to have that. And that's because of, one, the pandemic, because a lot of my friends I haven't seen, and I've lost touch with a lot of those friendships.
Yeah.
And I don't live there. So I'm never in Boston. I'm never going to, have those connections with people. And anybody that I'm going to be friends with is outside of school.
Yeah.
So a lot of what the expectation is for college students, and making those friendships and connections, I'm never going to have that. And I'm well aware of that. And I'm not upset about it. I am a little upset about losing friendships. And I think this song, it might not be, it's probably more of a love song than I'm alluding to here, but, bullshit, you fucking miss me. There, I said it. I guess I'll talk to you in a few months. That's how I feel about a lot of my friends. It's like, yeah, they say that they miss me, but yeah, not really. And
Yeah,
I guess I'll see you in a few months, whatever.
In this day and age, especially, and it's just right. I've noticed that these emo songs tend to reference like today's technology.
Yeah.
There's really no excuse for being out of touch.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I think most people, when they're looking to keep in touch with somebody, it's not always about, like, text me every 5 minutes or every day. But, like, once a week saying hi would be nice.
Yeah. That's why, and, like, I know the kids today are kind of, like, done with Facebook already. But I always kind of felt that was the purpose of Facebook. I don't have to message you or even comment. But if you see that I've liked stuff or, like, I'm paying attention. Yeah. And keeping a tab. And, like, that's for me, that's good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, like, there's like this level of, I think a lot of depression and feelings now are perpetuated by the fact that there's like this need to be connected to our phones. Yeah. And like, I get upset when I don't get a text or something all day. It makes me feel like nobody even gives a shit about me. Yeah. But the reality of it is that, that's not true. There are people out there that care, but like, think about it. You get bored of people. Like, I don't text you every day because, like, that would be freaking annoying.
Yeah. It's actually funny. The other day, so I texted you the picture of upstairs at work. Yeah. And I didn't hear from you all day, and I got sad. And then I remembered that you were working. I was like, oh, did you do busy?
I actually showed people that picture at work.
Oh, that's funny.
So, anyway, I thought that was an interesting reflection as a college student.
And it's funny. I had a similar college experience where I didn't live on campus. And I was in a professional program that the rest of the school didn't want at their school. So I never really interacted with other Mount Ida students. Right. I made friendships, but they were like you were developing professional friendships. Had I stayed in funeral service, I probably would still be friends with some of those people. But
right.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing is that like the school that I go to and the program that I'm in is pretty important and pretty big at the school. But I have no desire to be a part of that community, because the more that I've been there, I realized how superficial people are and how that these relationships that they want you to make are just not deep enough. And I get that a lot of them are networking to just get you to the place that you want to go, but I don't like this two-faced kind of attitude that I get from people that I go to school with. It just drives me crazy. Yeah. So I'd rather spend the time to make a decent relationship with people and build that as human beings, and do that on my own through the work that I do, not just because I went to school somewhere that has a good, decent name to it.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I get so angry. Anyway, let's move on before I blow my top here. Next song is called Two Good Things.
I've called A through F already, but no one knows why. One girl, one band, 2 paychecks are more than I can handle. Mathematically, that can't be more than one end of a candle. Bottom of the ninth, can't find my socks. Lord knows I'm stuck between 2 good things, but I just want to get out. And Mom
I can so relate to this song.
I almost feel like this song explains better all the things I just went on a rant about a minute ago.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah, probably some of the things that cause me the most angst in my life are the things that I enjoy and are good. Like I get it. Sometimes you just so it's really, really cool line here is trying to think of who could make a better me than me. Then I'd be free to just evaporate. Like just like the business of living life, man. It wears at you.
Evaporate, disperse, or implode.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like disperse is always possible because, and I'm not saying disperse in terms of like just disappear, but like, you know, spread things out. You know, that's when I always think of disperse. I never think of it as just like it's always like a kind of slow, gradual spread. And I think dispersing is always possible in that sense.
Yeah.
I like the line, why one girl, one band, 2 paychecks are more than I can handle, because it's very specific, not specific, very clear as to what he's talking about there.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been there one way or another. We've had, maybe it's not a relationship or a band or something like that, but, you know, you always had work and things that you enjoy that you always try to juggle, and it gets kind of to be too much. And at some points you feel like you want to evaporate, disperse, and implode.
Yeah. Let somebody else take over. I'm sure. Yeah, and have you ever had those feelings like I'm like somebody could be doing me better than me?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm not the best person to be doing me. I am, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm not doing a great job.
And I think you and I both fall into this trap, especially in Scouts, where we see somebody doing something a way that we don't like it, and we're like, oh, we could do that better, and then we start doing it. And we're like, I really don't want to do this right now.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's probably why those people aren't doing it as well as you want them to, because they're burnout and overworked too.
Yeah. So sometimes I think you need to step back and look at why things aren't getting done the right way.
Yeah.
So our last song on this album is called Pothole. Every time I see that word, I always want to call it pothole. Anything with hole that ends with a T, pothole, pothole.
Yeah.
So we're going to listen to Pothole just because it sounds like a really cool name.
I'm already on Genius, and I just want to say before we even get into the song that I'm really disappointed that whoever annotated it didn't define pothole. Because they had, in the last song, somebody had the definition of a phone book. Like explaining what a phone book was.
Well, I feel like if you live in the Northeast, potholes are a normal occurrence.
That's right. That's true.
All right, pothole.
If you let me off easy, I can be easily deceived. If you want that, but you are the ember of my heart, whether you like that or not.
The guitar sliding finger boys.
And it's the same thing. I think where this and the other song that was acoustic, help me. Bauer.
Timmy Bowers?
Timmy Bowers. It's like that dramatic pause where they're stopping the album and just saying something very personal and meaningful.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
If you think back to, and you might not remember because, you know, it's not your favorite album in the whole world, but Sports, when we did that episode, they end with the song Coals, which is a very similar vibe to this. But also, I think the first like 5 tracks of the album are pretty, you know, hype, and then they get to the 6th track and it's like this, and it just like slows down, and it's like halfway through the album where it's just like, all right, we're gonna have a brief intermission, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah. So on an aside, pothole is a deep natural underground cavity formed by the erosion of rock, especially by water. And the word pot in pothole comes from Middle English, meaning deep hole.
So it's a pothole.
It could be pronounced that way. Yeah, it was. I thought of it because, you know, we were all familiar with potholes as the, you know, the hole in the street where the concrete has gone away. But I've also heard that term used frequently in geological formations. So I knew that it must have, you know, predated tarmac, I guess. That's my point. My point was pointless. Anyway.
I mean, I had always interpreted it to be like when you're going to plant something, you need to make it deep enough so that the pot that the plant was in
I like that. That's a good explanation.
Yeah. Well, I think about it. You get those plants from like, Stop and Shop or something.
They come in a little plastic
Yeah, and you
pot.
take it out and it's like all one mass of soil. You got to rip up the bottom, and then that fits in perfectly. It's a pothole.
So- That's beautiful.
Isn't it? Isn't it wonderful? So that is You're Gonna Miss It All by Modern Baseball, our second time around, peeling back the layers of the onion known as me.
And so the last album that we listened to from them was an earlier album than this,
Yeah,
correct?
2 years older.
Yeah, you definitely could see a maturity.
Definitely. I will have to say we're not going to listen to their third album because I don't like it.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people do, and I'm not a fan of it. It's not bad. I mean, it's a lot like this. I just, I think that a lot of the themes that they wanted to explore, they've explored already, and that they're not a band anymore anyway. They have been on hiatus due to mental health issues. So,
They're not a band anymore. Well, it was good second round. with
yeah. So that's the beginning of season 3, and that means that we have a second episode because it's a season.
Yeah.
So tell us what's up.
So, hopefully, and I'm just going to say hopefully because we're scheduling things and they're always in motion. The plan for our next episode is actually a non-musical episode.
Yeah, he is.
All I'm going to say is...
Oh my god.
So stay tuned for that.
As always, check out esotericathepodcast.com. We still have plenty of t-shirts. Our holiday sale didn't push, but Valentine's Day is coming up in about a month and a half. So buy your loved one an Esoterica the Podcast t-shirt.
The only way to avoid 2021 being a repeat of 2020 is to buy yourself an Esoterica the Podcast t-shirt.
It'll definitely avoid the inevitable for us.
Right. So, until next week.
Stay esoteric.
Oceanic Airlines.
In the air since 1979.
Oceanic Airlines.
30 years with a perfect safety record.
Oceanic Airlines.